Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Day 2, hour 2 of the Hugh Hewitt Show during the shutdown. And I'm still here, and I'm still talking to Senator Steve Daines, represents the great state of Montana. He's always candid with me, and he knows the audience is sophisticated, so he doesn't mess around. Senator Daines, I don't see the Republicans giving an inch here. And do you?
No, there's no reason to. I've been through a few shutdowns over the years, 2013 under Obama, 2018 with Trump. Look, we're in day 2. These shutdowns start with a great big bang. They usually end with a whimper. When the Democrats will finally figure out they're not going to accomplish any policy objective or political objective, and they'll surrender and we'll move on. That's the way this will likely end. I hope when we have the votes tomorrow on Friday that we'll get 3, well, now we'll need 5 more Democrats to join the 3 that voted with us before. It's starting to crack. The question is when that dam finally breaks. It might break tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. We'll wait and see.
Senator, I got a column. I rarely get 1,000 comments over at Fox News. I'm at 3,000 comments today for a column titled "The Beltway Bubble Leads Democrats Off a Political Cliff." And its basic premise is everybody knows what's going on here. Leader Schumer is afraid of AOC, and he is sacrificing his caucus for his own political ambition, and a lot of Democrats don't like that. Dan Sullivan confirmed that for me today. Is that your assessment as well?
It is. I'd add one more threat to Schumer. So there's the AOC threat. There's just the existential threat he faces in terms of his political career of being the minority leader for the Democrats. He's got problems and division within the Senate Democrats. Obviously, this is a Hail Mary pass that he's made after he was vilified back in March when he walked the plank, politically speaking, to support the CR. But this time he learned that when he put his hand on that stove, it got burned. Well, his hand's going to get burned on this stove as well. It's just a matter of time, I think, when Schumer's going to see that that he loses either way on this shutdown. He really does politically, and he's not playing this very well. The facts, the truth are on our side. I mean, we've got nonstop running loops of Schumer, of course, criticizing Republicans for voting against the clean CR. The hypocrisy there is so obvious. He's in a really an untenable position. So the question is, does this fever break tomorrow afternoon when we vote, or is it sometime next week?
Now, Senator Daines, one of the reasons I was glad to see you were available today is we do get into the political minutia with you. You ran the Republican campaign that got the Senate back in Republican hands. So you're not having to raise all the money and do all the traveling this time. Senator Scott has to do that. But I know you're looking at the map. You know Mike Rogers from the last cycle. He's running in Michigan. I don't know who our nominee is going to be in Georgia. They're trying to get the invulnerable Susan Collins, my dear friend and chair of the Appropriations. They're not going to get her. Does this help any of their candidates, or does it hurt any of our candidates?
I don't think it matters. I think this will be a distant memory by the time we turn the corner into October, November of 26. So it's typically in D.C. The news cycles last not 24 hours, but about 24 minutes. And so this will be a distant memory. I really don't think this will have any impact at all on 26.
How about on the Virginia governor's race and the New Jersey governor's race? That's not in your strike zone, but it's not too far outside. You might go for the pitch.
It is. It's a little closer here in terms of an eminent type of election. But I'm not convinced. Other than perhaps in the short term, energizing one base or the other. In terms of energizing voters, perhaps. But in terms of a policy fight at the moment, I really don't see this as being a consequential issue at this point.
All right, now looking down 6 or 7 weeks. I think they'll fold too, and I think they'll fold soon because it's an avalanche of negative headlines, and the Schumer shutdown is now tattooed on him. It's tattooed on everyone. If you look 2 months ahead when the appropriations process has to wrap up, is there an actual negotiation that will happen then that will give the GOP a few things and give the Democrats a few things, but end up with actually a sane appropriations process?
That's the hope, and it'll depend a bit how this ends, this shutdown. But this is, if you have a quiet conversation with many Democrat colleagues, they want to get back to regular order, as do we. And frankly, we were making the best strides we've ever had here in years under John Thune's leadership, under Susan Collins' leadership, getting three appropriations passed and across the Senate floor, ready to go to the House for conference. So that's what needs to happen. The question is there enough time between now and November 21st to get all that completed? There is, if we put our mind to it and say we got to get this done. The wrinkle on this will be the subsidy issue with the COVID short-term subsidy ACA issue, in terms of how important that becomes. But that will be, I think, part of the overall appropriation mix. From our Republican viewpoint, that was meant to be a short-term COVID subsidy that none of us, by the way, support in the first place. $350 billion is the price tag to make that permanent, and is absolutely rife with fraud and waste and abuse. So that could be a sticking point, but I think we can get through that as we go forward here. I know President Trump will be part of negotiations if we get the appropriations done. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got all the appropriations done by the end of the calendar year? That would be the first time in years that that's happened.
And again, remembering that the audience kind of listens, it's inside the Beltway. Is it possible to trade some of those subsidies, give them, maybe narrow them, and make sure that they're really going to people who are indigent but for the subsidy, a tax credit, in exchange for, say, defense appropriations, energy grid upgrade, nuclear power permitting reform? There are lots of things Republicans would like that Democrats don't want to give. But isn't that normally what you folks do in the Senate?
There's some possible horse trades there, Hugh. I mean, it is such a terrible provision, frankly, just looking at it objectively. Never mind the political issues but looking at it just objectively in terms of policy, it really is a terrible policy. And so I think the policy have to be significantly reformed and revamped in order for it to be, I think, palatable for Republicans. But it's something that's very important to Democrats. So in terms of currency for some kind of a trade and appropriations or some kind of negotiation, certainly it will be on the table. And the question is, if we have to move down the path of some kind of reform that would have to be significant to that policy in exchange for some really good things that we want, obviously it could be in play. Wait and see. But that, I think that really is discussion for after we get through this shutdown. We're not going to negotiate on this now. It's a very simple binary choice. You either accept a clean, no strings attached CR extension to November 21st, or this massive $1.5 trillion debacle that is not even a reasonable proposal that Schumer's put on the table.
Yeah, I keep thinking of this as Russ Vogt is like Patton without gasoline. And they're giving him gasoline, and he's just going to take the Third Army through all the government spending if they don't reopen the government. So they're going to yield. I am looking to ask one more question about those 6 to 7 weeks out. Which committee are you sort of running point on, Senator? Which one is your favorite or most important committee to you?
I tell you, I mean, Hugh, it's just like trying to pick your favorite grandchild right now. But I love being on the finance committee because of the jurisdiction certainly on taxes and healthcare policy. But of course, we played a big role in the big beautiful bill and permanence on the tax policy. Senate Foreign Relations, I made a swing through Israel 2 weeks ago. I was there in Gaza at the Kerem Shalom port that's in the border there between Gaza and Egypt and Israel, and then followed up by being in Qatar and UAE last week as part of helping try to take the temperature down post the September 9th strike there in Doha. So in the foreign relations lane, there's a lot of really substantive kind of work going on as we speak, and certainly now with the hopefully the 20-point plan that Trump has put forward here on resolving Gaza. And then third, energy and natural resources. That's the committee I've been on the longest. And that's just, I love working on energy resources issues. I'm a chemical engineer by degree. If you don't get energy security right, you don't get national security right. So it all ties together. But anyway, I'm having fun on all three committees right now, Hugh, and all of them are dealing with very substantive major issues for this country.
We got to get the small nuclear reactors permitted. So I'm hoping you do that. But we got a minute, Senator. Do you think we get the Trump deal with Doha? And I know Ambassador Youssef was coming to see you last week. Do we get that deal before our Jewish friends come back from Yom Kippur? They're not listening today. They're observing their
Yeah.
High Holy Day. But what do you think?
Well, this is the best hope and probably the most optimism I've had in quite some time in resolving the stickiest issue, probably on the planet, is Gaza. Because if we resolve Gaza, that has a ripple effect across the Middle East with UAE, AI, data centers, power generation. It's all in Hamas's hands right now. We're gonna reveal Hamas's true colors. If they take the deal, I'm very thankful. I'm just still skeptical they really want a deal. We'll see what happens.
We'll say some prayers for that. Steve Daines, Senator from Montana, thank you for joining me, Senator. I'll be right back, America. Don't go
Thanks,
anywhere.
Hugh.